Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. And as always, sitting right over there, you know who he is, my main man, Reggie. What's going on, Reg?
What's going on, Ken? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I know we all kind of get ready for the season at a different point. Some people are, they're ready for opening day, the very next day that the previous season ended. But as it's building and building, we just had our 53-man roster cut that we'll talk about here shortly. But right now, there's nothing other than a couple practices between now and opening day.
Yeah, there's not too much going on, man, other than the season is about to go on. And so we're looking forward to that, man. And hearing you but first of all, I just want to tell everybody thanks for tuning in and listening to us. Before we get started, if you're following us on YouTube, you can see that our Twitter handle is down at the bottom. And if you're listening, our Twitter handle is at the two knuckleheads. That's DA and then the number 2 followed by knuckleheads. We're on Twitter. And of course, if you're listening to us on YouTube, please don't forget to like and also subscribe to our channel so you can make sure that you get these notifications when these come out. But Ken, I noticed you were playing, Hell to the Redskins just as we were coming on here. It sounded a little spotty, but being a veteran fan like myself, I was able to recognize the tunes. So to that song. But interesting enough, man, Jason Wright made a little bit of news today talking about said name Redskins. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it depends on what side of the, where you sit. I think on this Knucklehead podcast, we've both basically said it's not going back.
Well,
right?
let's tell the people what we're referring to. So Jason Wright was being interviewed by 106 The Fan, local sports talk radio station over in the DC area.
Right.
And he was asked about the name. And I'm going to paraphrase. And he basically said, it doesn't matter about the signatures because the name is not going to go back. That's not even being talked about, not even being considered. And he said, period. So essentially, for all those that wanted the name to kind of go back to being the Redskins, he pretty much put a kibosh and basically ended that discussion right then and there. And so to your point, if you've been paying attention and listening to us, we knew it wasn't coming back.
No.
I just hate that it took him this long to say something. But at the end of the day, we knew his name wasn't coming back. And so he's finally put that to bed, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, it makes me chuckle that it left for a reason. And whether you agree with it or not, you should have known and understood the reason, right? It wasn't just a willy-nilly, I'm going to change it just because. There was reasonings behind it. And the number one reason was money.
Correct.
Right? You can disagree 100% with the social implications of the name and the complaints revolving around that. But it came down to money, and sponsors weren't going to give the team money. And hey, every team out there, if you're the New England Patriots and all the sponsors say we don't want that name any longer and want you to change it, when there's no money coming in, you're going to change the name Patriots. I know it sounds ridiculous, and that is a ridiculous example because it's not, that wouldn't happen. But in that situation, you're there to make money. These owners are make millions upon millions of dollars every single year. And for them to not make money, it is just poor business management, right? Because the money is rolling in between TV contracts and sponsors. There's so much money to be made in the NFL. And so if you're not capitalizing on it, shame on you.
And of course, with revenue sharing, the expectation by the league and the league owners is that everyone is going to do everything that they can in their power to make as much money as possible. Because if all 32 teams is making as much money as they can, then that's more money to be put in their pockets. And so when Washington began to lose money due to sponsorships, ticket sales, merchandise, and all of the above, Washington is no longer carrying their weight. And the league was not going to let Washington go on forever not pulling their weight, because whether Dan Snyder was making money for the rest of the league or not, he was certainly sharing in the revenue of the other 31 teams. Right. So you have to pull your weight. And so when sponsorships left, the merchandise sales are down, ticket sales are down, it was becoming an issue. And so something was going to have to change. And because of that change, it's not about to come back. So we knew it wasn't coming back. And I think we've already spent enough time on it. I mean, I'm even sporting a hat. I still have a ton of gear. And for those that are wondering, no, I'm not getting rid of it. Do I wear it as much? No, because I got Commanders gear. But that doesn't mean I'm not about to get rid of my stuff. You're out of your damn mind. I got it. I wear it. And ironically, it's funny. I probably get more people stop and say something to me about when I'm wearing Redskins than I do Commanders.
Right.
Because it's usually, you guys should have changed the name and all that. And at that point, I don't have the time to get into a conversation with a non-fan. But nonetheless, listen, because it's a whole topic, right? People that don't follow the team, don't follow the organization, hasn't been through the roller coaster, the up and down. So I just usually say, hey, man, it was, whatever. It is what it is. It's not going back. Commanders fan, I keep it moving.
But, and for those that don't know, we're in Dallas. So when we have these conversations, it's about a 98% chance it's with a Dallas fan.
Yeah.
So,
so with that being said, I'm just glad Jason Wright or someone from management and has finally spoken out about it from the football side of things, and from the organization side of things, I should say. And it's finally let people know they can cool it with all this name change talk. I mean, if they go to another name other than Commanders, that's a whole nother topic. But the whole thing of going back to Redskins, I'm glad they finally put this to bed, and we can move on to bigger, better things.
Yeah. And we'll talk once again. We'll talk about the 53-man roster here in a second. But I think we've got, it's not a big announcement. I mean, for you and I, it's a big announcement. For the listeners,
well, hang on. What about the? Are we going to touch on what Ron said about Sam Howell?
We can. I with Sam Howell. I mean, with Ron referencing that what he saw week 18 last year, game 17, that he wish he would have, seen that and recognized that earlier and would have played him earlier. My only criticism to that whole thing is, Ron, you talk too much. You're too open about your comments, because we all make mistakes, right? We all do things, or you think something's good and it turns out bad. You think something's bad or mediocre and it turns out good. Ron, you're just sharing too much. That's all that is, because every single coach has been in that exact same situation. It might not have been the quarterback. It might have been a lineman, a wide receiver, a tight end, whatever. Every single coach has been in that spot. They just don't lay it on the line and let everybody know their business like Ron did.
I don't disagree. I said it a few podcasts ago. I said when the ownership change in DC, it's like a big weight was lifted off of Ron's shoulder. But apparently the weight was lifted off his lips too, because all of a sudden he has put his foot in his mouth and spoke a little bit too open and honest with the media, a little bit too much here recently since July. And keep in mind, we're only in August, for the end of August, nonetheless. But Ron put his foot in his mouth more times since the ownership sale than he did in the first 3 years he was here.
All right.
It's like, Ron, hold on, Ron. We don't need to know everything.
Exactly.
We don't, man. Listen, I mean, you got people arguing about whether the earth is round or flat. And yet here he is putting something out there, and it will be interpreted 1,000 different ways, just from one statement.
Right.
And so he's a veteran coach. He should know better. And the fact that he's willing to just be open, maybe it's just the difference between a Charlotte market and a DC market. It's like, come on, man, you should know better than this, Ron. So despite what he said, he just shouldn't have said that out loud. He said that was a conversation he had with his wife. Well, damn it, Ron, you should have kept it with you and your wife. Okay. You should have kept that conversation between you and your wife. I didn't need to know it. None of us needed to know it. Right. But come on, man. Come on, Ron. Do better.
Yeah. And like I said, but all the coaches go through that. They just don't let everybody know, all the ideas and thoughts and mistakes. They don't make them public.
Absolutely.
And speaking of mistakes recently, I know this isn't Washington related, but I'll bring it back around to Washington related with Trey Lance. Everything they gave up for him, and they didn't talk about it in depth, but clearly they San Francisco 49er group realized that he wasn't what they thought he was, and they moved on from it, and they got a lot of criticism from it. But I will have to give them credit the same way that I gave Ron Rivera credit when he recognized Haskins was not an NFL caliber quarterback, whether it was maturity, whether it was skills, whether it was whatever that bag is, and still under his rookie contract, first round pick, and cut him and let him go. And kudos to that, because way too many times for Rivera and for Shanahan both, you draft especially a first round quarterback, and you hold on to him and you hold on to him and you hold on to him. We did it with RG3, right? He sat at least 1 year, if not 2 years, watching Kirk Cousins. We got nothing for him, but a wasted paycheck on it. So
yeah, no, I understand.
And I'm not getting into RG3 talk because my blood pressure will go up. But we can move on from that. But if you have any comments or ideas,
I have a whole nother take on the Trey Lance situation in San Francisco, and it's for another day and another time. But I don't think it was a situation the kid couldn't play as much as I'll just say I think the window for San Francisco to win a championship is a lot smaller than the amount of time probably they had to develop Trey Lance. So this was let's just move on from the kid and, giving him another opportunity. And I don't know what kind of career he's going to have, but that's a whole nother discussion in that topic. But at any rate, moving on to the next, man.
Do we want to get to the major announcement for you and me, but probably minor announcement for everybody else?
I mean, it's certainly big for me and you. But go
for
ahead.
You and I, this is big. This is big. Like I mentioned earlier, Reggie and I are both in the DC area. I'm sorry, we're in the Dallas area, so we don't get to DC. We don't get to a lot of the hype, a lot of the parties, a lot of the things that go on in DC. We don't have access to do. We do try to catch every handful of years, catch a Dallas game here or something close when something's going on here. When the draft was here in Dallas, we went to that, and
we did
was there for that. So we like to be involved as much as we can. But week one, your boy Reggie and I, we'll be flying to DC for week one.
No.
I bought tickets for us. I bought airline tickets for us. I bought lower level seats for us. I got a hot dog and a beer for us. It's all on me. That's a lie. That's a lie.
I was going to say
we're going Dutch.
You did. But yeah, man, we got some exciting news about that, man. You boys are going to be in the house. We're going to be in the building. FedEx Field, September 11th, if I'm not
No,
mistaken. The Sunday is September
no,
11th.
the 10th.
Are you sure? I thought
Yeah,
the game was on the 11th, Ken.
we fly on the 9th. The game is on the 10th.
Game's on the 10th. Okay, I stand corrected. Either way, we will be in the building, man.
If
And
you're there on the 11th, Reg, you'll be a little late, my man. But we're on the same flight, so I'll make sure you're there on
we'll,
time.
we'll be in town, man. We're gonna be in the building, man, having a good time for the home opener in the post Dan Snyder era. Looking forward to meeting quite a few people that we've been just talking with and interacting with on social media and things of that nature. There's gonna be a huge tailgate that will be taking place. You got to have tickets.
There's gonna be so many tailgates.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, it
I mean,
and the stadium's already sold out.
the game is sold out. In fact, I saw today that they are now opening standing room only tickets.
I love it.
And I never thought I'd see the day. But the fan base has come back, man. I mean, people said that they would come back when Dan Snyder was gone, and so far that's held true. But clearly, there's a lot of excitement. You know, there's people who were showing up week 1 that if this team is not playing well by week 9, they're not going to the game. Right? There's those people too. But for the sake of week 1, the house is going to be full, man, and we are excited. We are looking forward to it. And man, this is gonna be big because it's been a while since we've been to FedEx Field. We've gone to other stadiums for road games. Just case in point, we were down in Houston this past season. But to be at a home game, it's been a few years, and this is going to be a major deal, man. And I'm looking forward to it and excited about it.
Yeah, when we first started talking about it, I was excited about it, looking forward to it. And everything that I've seen has made me look more and more forward to this game. The roster that's getting put together. I know it's preseason. I'm lightly tapping the brakes. But
Are you though?
I like what I see from Sam Howell. I like what I've even though it's vanilla, I like the initial play calling of Bieniemy and how I can see some things that he's already done just in preseason that we didn't do last year on some of our very simple schemes. So I know everything during the regular season is going to build on that and be more elaborate based on that. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I watched preseason because I wanted to see just what, or I should say, just get a glimpse of what an Eric Bieniemy system was going to look like, and just the preseason looked a hell of a lot different than what our regular season looked like last year under Scott Turner.
Right.
And so we saw some things that is promising, man. And the one true Sam Howell certainly looks the part. People have asked me about him, and I said, "Listen, I'm not going to get ahead of myself and put Sam in the Hall of Fame." But I will say, up to this point, I've not seen anything from Sam that would make me question whether or not he can be the guy that leads this team in the future. He's handled everything well. I keep coming back to the poise. It doesn't seem too big for him, and he's done everything the right way. The kid's not making a whole lot of mistakes. I mean, is there room for growth? Absolutely. I mean, the kid is essentially a rookie, right? I mean, I know this is technically his second year in the league, but outside of playing the last game of the season and then preseason, he's had one game, man. So this is all still a growth for Sam Howell, but he's handled all of the tests almost with flying colors up to this point. So there's nothing but optimism for Sam Howell. I mean, in years past, regardless of the quarterback that we put on the center, there's always been a yeah, but. You know, we had a yeah, but with Alex Smith. There was the yeah, but with Carson Wentz. There was a yeah, but with Fitzpatrick. There was a lot of optimism, but there was yeah, but when it came to Dwayne Haskins. I mean, every quarterback even with RG3, it was
Heineke also.
Heineke was a
Yep.
yeah, but and again, RG3, there was a yeah, but with the guy,
Right.
right? And so far, the only knock that we've seen from Sam Howell technically has been the fact that everyone says that he didn't look good his last year in college and he fell to the 5th round. Some people explain that as his talent was gone. Other people just said, hey, he's a 5th round guy. But we're about to find out, man. It's for real, for real. Starting next week. Well, for us, a week and a half or so. But the games start next Thursday officially, the new season. So I'm excited, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
and I'm interested. I mean, I think the expectation, especially when you look at our schedule and the defenses that we play, they're going to bring the heat for Howell. They're going to be blitzing. They're going to be doing everything they can to put pressure on this young quarterback. And I'll be interested. I think we'll know within the first, I'll say 3 weeks, how he handles that. It doesn't mean he's not going to have highs and lows, but you'll see. And it's not that I'm expecting him not to be able to maintain his composure, but you'll really see what the kid is made out of. Young man. I don't mean to insult anybody by calling anybody a kid. It's just at my age, everybody's a kid. And you're going to see him get tested. And you're going to see the offensive line get tested. So it's going to be very interesting that just the first 2 or 3 weeks. And
here's where
made of.
But here's where I feel good about it. Assuming that teams are going to do exactly what you just described.
Yep.
The other part to this is I feel very confident in the play caller that Eric Bieniemy will be smart enough and willing to make the adjustment. So what do? You either mass protect, or you call the play that gets the ball out of his hand quick. Where Scott would just, you guys got to pick up the blitz,
right?
And teams just continue to blitz. Eric is going to say, oh, they want to blitz us, so let's call a play that will counter the blitz and see what happens there. And so I feel good about Eric's ability to try to call the game in a way that's going to help Sam, help the offensive line, the ability to pick up a blitz.
Right.
And so again, I feel good about that.
I agree 100%. I think last year, when you look overall at the game, I mean, I know there was a dynamic difference between when Wentz was playing and Heineke was playing that exposed or covered up some of our weaknesses with the offensive line. But Turner, other than the game against Philadelphia, where we just ran the ball, outside of that, there was very little difference from week to week, from team to team, scheme to scheme. It seemed like it was the same thing week in, week out, never any adjustments. And to your point, I expect Eric Bieniemy to be ready for those adjustments, be able to capitalize, because obviously when a team blitzes, they leave holes open. You just have to be able to coach Howell up to know where those holes are going to be, coach the receivers to make those hot reads and get to that open spot. And yeah, I think we're going to see a difference in those situations this year compared to the last few years.
No doubt.
So
go ahead.
Well, I was going to start. If you don't have anything else, I was going to talk a little bit about some of the roster and the final 53.
Let's get into it.
Okay. And Reggie and I talked before we started this podcast, and in a lot of ways, this final 53-man roster was kind of vanilla. There were no surprises. Now you may say there's a surprise at a third or fourth stringer that may or may not have made the team, but pretty much every starter that we expected to start is there. Nobody got bumped.
No surprise cut.
No surprise cut.
Except one.
For you or for everybody across the board?
Well, there's one surprise cut. And last week I made a bold prediction. Okay. So since I made it here, a bold prediction, I'm going to go ahead and and admit that I was wrong. I said Kaz Allen was not only going to be on the squad, but I said he was going to make the 53-man roster. And your boy was wrong. So my bold prediction was not very bold. It was still bold to predict. It didn't come true.
Well,
So-
I think for those that may or may not have watched the last preseason game, because you made that prediction before that last preseason game, Kaz Allen in that game in particular, when the lights are on, didn't do anything to help himself. He had a muffed ball, and then as a receiver, he dropped not one but two balls as a receiver. So he had butterfingers all night long, and so if he was on the bubble, that might have been the deciding factor. Initially, they said that he wasn't going to be brought back on the practice squad. That was all the rumor, but it looks like he is going to be back on the practice squad. And when he has the ball in his hand as a punt returner, it looked like he might have something. He might have that little spark to break one, to create something, to set your offense up in a good position with a little bit shorter field. But as we all know, the first thing you have to do as a punt returner is catch and hold the ball. So.
This is true. And we got a Hall of Famer for that. We got a Hall of Fame catch the ball guy, and that's Dax Mill. That's all he's gonna do. If there was a Hall of Fame for make sure you catch the ball on punts and kickoffs, Dax would be in it. But hey, it is what it is, man.
Pure sarcasm, ladies and gentlemen. But
look, man, we still need
see how it goes.
We still need somebody dynamic, man. You can't just get the ball at 25 every time. I mean, hell, get us at the 45 every now and then. But
I agree. I wanted Kaz Allen to take the job. Take it, earn it, and be that spark. And it's not saying that he won't. He may end up from the practice squad. Come on over. Another player that I know a lot of fans had their eye on that ended up getting cut and not making the practice squad was our local favorite, Jarrett Patterson.
That's correct. Jarrett was cut.
He unrestricted free agent when he joined the team. Was on for a couple years and was cut this time. I know I when I read out there on Twitter or other social media, people say, "Oh, some team's going to pick him up." Whether that's Kaz Allen, whether that's Patterson, whether that's whoever. But the reality is, all 32 teams have a Jarrett Patterson kind of guy. The fans like that third or fourth string. That he's got a spark. Whether it's a receiver, whether it's a running back, every single team has one. And so unfortunately, I'm not knocking Patterson. I'm just saying there are 32 other Pattersons or 31 other Pattersons out there that a lot of people thought he might make the team. He's a good guy. People like that third and fourth running back, but they're just not gonna make the team, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if we've lost Reggie. We got some audio issues here, but one of the things that I noticed. Are you back with us, Reggie?
I'm back.
Okay, I lost you for a second there. And so, but besides Patterson and Allen, a couple things from that stood out to me was that we only kept 3 running backs on the active roster.
Okay.
Jonathan Williams went on the IR. Initially, I thought that he was cut, but it turns out he was on the IR. So my expectation is they anticipate when he's off the IR that he'll be on the active roster.
Who's this again?
Jonathan Williams.
Okay, so he's on IR?
Correct. They put him on IR. So I believe by today's NFL rules, that puts you at least 4 weeks of being off the roster. And the
A
other
lot of
thing
guys, a
was
lot of guys went on IR, man. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm not a conspiracy theorist kind of guy, just by nature.
right.
But in all the years I've been a fan, I've never seen this many guys go go on IR. I mean, Jonathan Williams for Darius Matthews. And then I know the one kid got hurt. Brayton Daniels got hurt.
Right.
He, supposedly. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
watch the game, but supposedly he hurt his torus rotator cuff, and they didn't even know that until the day after. So
The rules for IR changed just a couple years ago, right? It used to be if you were on IR before the season started, you were gone for the year, right?
right.
And,
Well, Brayton
so now,
Daniels is gone for the year.
yeah, but the point is, if you know he's going to be out 4 weeks, maybe if you know he's going to be out 3 weeks, go ahead and put them on IR. Let them get fully healed. That gives you a roster spot. It's more of a roster move, and being able to have more players to work with within the rules and boundaries that are out there right now. But we
It
got the
looks
3 running backs.
suspect.
Yeah,
It looks suspect.
I think if you look across the other teams, it's probably on par with most of the other teams out there. I was surprised that we kept 7 wide receivers. That is a high number by most NFL standards. Not I just went and looked at the Philadelphia Eagles as an example. They kept 4 wide receivers. Four seemed awfully low. I would think 5, maybe 6, but 7 wide receivers and only 3 running backs initially at this moment going into week 1.
I get the impression that some of the moves that Washington made this training camp, and based on the numbers that they kept at some positions, leads me to believe that these moves have everything to do with what potentially is going to happen next season. And what I mean by that is there's guys that they saw enough in training camp and preseason in terms from a depth perspective, that they didn't want to cut these guys and potentially lose them to other teams, knowing that they want to continue to develop them this year in anticipation that they're going to lose guys next year. Case in point, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Casey Toohill, and I think F.L. Bata are all free agents.
Right.
So with 4 guys, you're not going to bring them all 4 back. So then now you step in the Ridgeways, the KJ Henrys, the Andre Joneses of the world. You keep developing them, and so now you got somebody waiting in the wings in case you can't bring him. Same thing with the wide receivers. Right. Terry and Jahan Dotson are on the team, but Curtis Samuel is in the last year of his contract.
Right.
So now you bring in the other 3 guys that they kept: Pringle, Tinsley, and clearly Dak's not gonna, I don't think, take these guys a spot. But now if you develop Tinsley, you develop God, I'm drawing a blank on his name already. But anyway, you develop the other guys. Now all of a sudden you're not hamstrung to overpay Curtis Samuel to keep him. Right. Because you still got Jahan Dotson who could step in as your number 2. And then of course you still have Terry McLaurin. Right. So to me, the numbers that they kept at a lot of these positions has a lot to do with what I think they're looking forward to next year. And the same thing on the offensive line. They kept quite a few offensive linemen. But again, this is this whole position flex mentality that right. Ron and the folks like to utilize.
Well, and I think if you look at the running backs that we are active on the roster with B-Rob, Gibson, and
Rodriguez,
these are guys that have done well catching out of the backfield. And then you throw that on with having 7 wide receivers. I don't think that there was any doubt that Eric Bieniemy was going to be opening up this offense. And but if you had any doubts, look at the roster that he's putting together and the skill sets that they have. Even with the vanilla offense that we run during the season, Sam Howell was not just dinking and dunking. Yes, he did some of that, but he was throwing a lot of balls that were 8 yards and beyond.
Right.
Where you look the last few years, and man, it seemed like 70% of our passes were 8 yards and in. It was a 4 yard hook, it was a 3 yard hook, it was a 5 yard out, it was to the backs here and there. It was, it was nothing where the receiver would get a first down if he was tackled immediately,
Yeah.
And I already see that change just in preseason, that we're throwing the ball 8, 12, 15 yards down the field, going deep here and there. The enemy's going to make everybody play the entire field.
As he should. Spread them out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Spread them out, maximize your talent, maximize your weapons that you have, and get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. I don't think this team is going to be heavy run. I mean, I know Ron and Mayhew said that prior to Eric Bieniemy becoming the offensive coordinator, but man, if preseason and training camp was any indication of what this team is going to look like, there's going to be a lot of balls being thrown around to the backs and tight ends alike. But there's going to be a lot of passes in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to say that the running backs, where last year they would have gotten, a few catches out, and then 20, 25 runs. So you total it up and maybe it's 30 touches. I think they're still going to get 25 to 30 touches. It's just not going to all be runs. And that's fine. A swing pass to a running back is nothing more than a wide run. He just doesn't have all the blockers, a full set of offensive linemen out in front of him. But it's still and essentially a long, wide run when you throw it out there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But like I said, I think the offensive line, the running backs are going to get roughly the same amount of touches. It's going to be less run and more passes mixed in with that.
I agree. The national media obviously does not think highly of this team. They don't think the team is going to do well. People were questioning Sam Howell when Ron made the decision in the beginning of the offseason that he was going to give Sam the opportunity to be QB1. And everyone naturally said, this makes no sense. And now, after Sam has played this preseason, seemed like people have jumped on the Sam Howell bandwagon. So with that, I still think nationally, just like they were not on the Sam Howell bandwagon early on, they're not hooked to this team early on. But I believe that as the season gets going and we started winning and scoring and realizing that, man, Washington is not an easy win for you. And when they see the team compete, I think it will start to change the narrative nationally that this team is for real. And I have a friendly bet with a coworker of mine. He thinks that we're going to finish last in the division. He's a Cowboy fan, and he thinks that we're going to lose. We're going to finish last in the division again. And I said, absolutely not. So it was an easy bet. I was like, even if we don't win the division, we're not. I don't think we finish last.
Right.
So with that being said, that's right along with the way I think we're perceived nationally. Nationally has us being the worst team in the division and that we will finish last again.
Yeah, I don't know. And let me just back up. There are media heads out there that aren't giving Washington any credit at all. That's fine. I'll dismiss those people. The people that do give us at least some level of credit, I think those people are going to be if you pause at this moment and Sam Howell continues to be the player that we think he can be, and I'm not trying to say he's going to be a top 5 player. Maybe he will, but I'm not trying to elevate it in my example here. If he is a number 11, 12 quarterback in this league this year, that's not super high, that's not super low, but that is if he were to play at around that level, this is going to be a dangerous team because the defense can handle their business. The offense will be able to handle their business. It'll be a well-balanced team that can win games different ways. And as any team out there, I mean, as a fan of any team out there, if you don't have a dominant offense or a truly dominant defense, and you better be balanced because teams are going to expose you. And I think the way this team is set up right now, we can score with some of the teams, and we have a defense that can slow down some of the faster offenses. But you know, the proof is in the pudding, and for Washington, we'll start finding out September 10th as the season goes.
Yeah, and what has to happen on both sides of the ball is it's been talked about is we have to start fast. I understand. Yes. I mean, again, we play in Arizona. You know, they're professionals. They get paid too. But this team has to, just generally speaking, early in the season, has to get off to a fast start. We can't still be trying to find our footing on both offense and defense. Defense has no excuse, in my opinion, to be getting off to a slow start. You should know what's going on. You should be playing fast. Offensively, I get it. There's still some learning curve to be had, but man, you can't have offense and defense both still trying to find their footing early in the season. So, right. So they got to start fast, man.
Yep.
But I'm excited about the roster.
Yeah. We're not going to give our prediction for the season yet. Next week, prior to the first game, we'll come out with another podcast. On that podcast, we will review the upcoming Arizona game in a little more details. We'll talk about our predictions for the year, and we will also talk about any updates, news, and events that are going on. And maybe we already mentioned about going out there to week 1, but you know, if we know that we're going to be somewhere at some event like Saturday night, maybe we'll let you know. We'd love to meet you. If you know of one that there's an event coming on, not just you and your neighbor Bob across the street grilling a couple hot dogs, but if there's an actual event that is going on with other Commanders fans, maybe a radio station's putting it together, maybe, you know, Miller Lite's putting it together, whatever. We're out of town, so we might miss some of the news. Let us know.
Bud Light, Ken. Remember, we're Bud Lights.
Bud Light, Miller
Bud
Light.
Light now.
I don't drink any beer, so it's all the same to me. If Pepsi sponsors an event, let me know. I'll be there, man.
Hey, but we can still meet up with Bob and the neighbor too. You know, we don't discriminate.
Oh well, once we find out that Bud Light and Miller Lite are putting something together, we'll get you know, Bob and his grill to come on out there and meet up with us out there with everybody else. So,
but yeah, so that's really it, man. I'm excited about the roster. I'm excited about this team. I'm excited about where this potentially is going to take us. This could be the beginning of a new era for Washington, man. And I'm excited and looking forward to it. And just happy that we will be there for the start of it come week 1, September 10th. So being excited for it, looking forward to it. And as always, man, until next time, that's all I got. Peace out.
Peace out, knuckleheads. Hit us up on social media. Social media. Best places on Twitter at @2knuckleheads.